Neighbor sued me after harassing my dog for months, lost horribly. About 6 or 7 months ago, my neighbor got a drone. I don't mind people having hobbies, but for some reason he insisted on flying like the biggest jerk possible. He would hover in front of other houses and windows, try to race cars going down the road, and worst of all, he had a habit of flying his drone in my fenced backyard, buzzing over my dog, diving low just over my dog's head before circling around to do it again. My dog isn't small, he's about 70 pounds and a Malamute, but the drone terrified him, and I was worried what would happen if it hit him. I asked my neighbor several times to please not fly in my yard and explained that it was scaring my dog. He basically told me to get lost and laughed in my face. When it still continued, I called the police. Unfortunately, there wasn't much they could do other than ask him to please not fly over my house property. Finally, in late December it happened. My dog got tired of his shit and managed to catch the drone right as it was diving towards him. He shredded the drone. The thing was just a jumbled mess of wires and plastic. Neighbor was pissed. He stormed over to my house swearing and threatening me, which I ignored. A week later, I got a summons to small claims court. He wanted $900 for the cost of his drone and an additional $300 for supposedly denying him access to his property. The drone sat in my yard for a couple hours before it was retrieved. Fuck that. He could have killed my dog. I don't have kids or a girlfriend. I just have my dog, who is my best friend for the past 7 years. That dog has moved with me 3 times, was there when I graduated college, saw me buy my first house and my first new car. I love my dog. Went to legal advice, got some great help from them. Turns out, him suing me was the best thing to ever happen. When we got to small claims court, the judge basically laughed away his claims that I had intentionally trained my dog to attack his drone. But little did he know I was prepared. I had dozens of photos of my yard showing it was impossible for him to, accidentally, fly that low to my dog. Videos of him harassing my dog in the past, and I had saved all my medical bills from taking my dog to the vet. $700 for an X-ray? Check. Another $250 to sedate him during? Why not? Don't want him being uncomfortable. Full dental exam with tooth cleaning, repair? $400. Then there was the cost of anti-anxiety meds and a secondary checkup. Wet food for a week in case his teeth were hurt, and extra just for good measure. In the end, the asshole ended up owing me almost $2,000, and now is being investigated by the FAA for not having a registered drone and violating several FAA regulations concerning drone flight: too near an airport, too close to other people, out of sight of operator and way above the maximum altitude. I'm a drone pilot and enthusiast, and people like this guy are the absolute worst for a growing industry that's generally trying to promote an image of safety, with an emphasis on communication and education. Any drone pilot who's done any amount of basic training, research will never fly close to any neighboring houses, animals, or in any antagonistic manner that endangers or harasses anyone. It really just takes one guy to make it look bad for everyone. Screw that guy. He got what he deserved, and I'm glad your dog is okay. Don't fuck with drone regs. They are brand new and drones can pose a huge safety risk to people and pilots. I myself as a pilot have almost hit one during a critical phase of landing. Basically no room to recover if a disaster hits. I'm pretty sure that the FAA is actively looking to nail idiots like this with heavy fines to set an example for others new to drone flying. I'm Canadian, so I'm not fully versed with American requirements, except I do know that all drones are required to be registered with the FAA. There's also something called a Part 107 that I believe is an advanced certification that would authorize you to fly in certain conditions, but again, I'm not an expert. In Canada we have guidelines from Transport Canada that tell you what you can and can't do, and there's also a special flight operation certificate you can obtain that will let you fly your drone in many more advanced, complication locations. Agreed. It sounds like OP is already taking precautions, but I would definitely check the recordings from times when the dog wasn't out in the yard to make sure that the neighbor hasn't tossed anything over the fence. I wouldn't put it past this guy to throw over some food spiked with something harmful. I know this kinda shit gets stated on Reddit a lot, but if I caught someone poisoning my dog I'd lose my fucking mind. I am not saying I'd kill someone over it, but probably just make him eat canned spaghetti till he popped like in the movie Seven. You know, a reasonable bit of retaliation. One of my dad's dogs got poisoned one time. started having seizures and died in his lap before they could even get to the vet. It's an awful experience that I wouldn't wish on anyone. If you have a conflict with another human being, it's super unfair to harm their dog. Dogs almost always just want to make people happy. My childhood home burned down when I was 16. My parents and I obviously had nowhere to live. They stayed at a hotel 15 miles away while I couch surfed so I could continue to attend school. No hotels in our small, rural town. Thankfully, we had a large fenced-in yard with access to a stall in one of our fully enclosed barns. This is where we kept our doggos while we pieced our lives back together. Until our neighbor poisoned them. Sad face. We think he did it because they barked, but we lived on a farm and there was quite a bit of distance between them and his property. But what else could we do? We didn't even have a place to live. Sad face. Our Great Pyrenees Collie mix died as a result. Our rat terrier was blind and older by this time, so we think he didn't get to it and he was okay. I forget what we did, it's been 11 years. But we figured out new arrangements to keep anything from happening to him. I know this kinda shit gets stated on Reddit a lot, but if I caught someone poisoning my dog I'd lose my fucking mind. I am not saying I'd kill someone over it, but probably just make him eat canned spaghetti till he popped like in the movie Seven. You know, a reasonable bit of retaliation. You should read the post I just posted in Legal Advice. My landlord put chemical traps in my house without telling me and my dog got into one. Had to pump his stomach and got a vet bill. I contacted my landlord who admits to putting these traps, didn't notify and my lease requires 24-hour notice, and asked if the vet bill could be credited toward rent. Got threatened to be evicted in retaliation. I lived out in the country when I was little. We were surrounded by cornfields pretty much, so lots of deer in the fields and woods nearby. We had an outside Dalmatian named Sam, and he loved to bark at the deer, and any other animal. One day I came home from school, and Sam wouldn't stop having seizures. We took him to the vet, but unfortunately, they had to put him down. They said he must have ingested some kind of poison. About a week later, this kid at school was bragging about all the deer he and his father had shot while hunting over the weekend. Apparently they'd been having a rough time hunting, but ever since they killed that stupid barking dog that kept scaring the deer away, their luck had improved. I never knew that people intentionally hurt dogs before that incident. You show amazing restraint. I would end that guy for hurting my best friend. Is it worth it? That's up for the individual to decide. Hell, I've already been to prison. The worst thing about prison was the Dementors. They were flying all over the place, and they were scary. And they'd come down, and they'd suck the soul out of your body, and it hurt. This has been happening a lot in my hometown lately. Someone has been leaving dentistix, sausages, chewing bones full of spikes and screws on popular dog walking trails around town. Thankfully no dogs have been seriously harmed, yet, and as far as I know, thanks to their owners having a sharp eye. It's been circling the media a lot lately, so at least most dog owners are aware of it now. But dogs can be quick to munch on snacks they find though, so it's very scary. They blamed my family for calling the cops on their dog. They had a pit bull that they kept chained up in the backyard. Sometimes the dog would get loose and run throughout the neighborhood terrifying people and small kids. When this would happen, other neighbors would usually call the police. They thought it was us calling the police and so they tried to poison our dog. 6 months later their dog got loose. The police were called, their dog attacked an officer and was shot and killed. We didn't call the police that time either, but we're still worried that our neighbor may try something again. Great fucking point. Normally I would say suggesting someone would do this is an overreaction, but the fact this dude's life is so pathetic he flies a drone to harass his neighbor's dog and has the fucking delusion to sue the dog owner for the dog defending himself makes me think not. With that type of freak for a neighbor you can never have less security cameras, and it is on record now he has harassed OP's dog, so if OP finds something else this dude is going to get fucked worse than $2,000. It's one of those urban legends you wish was an urban legend. I've never lost a dog to the poison meat bullshit, but I know people who have, and it amazes me that so many people have no problem with doing it. It may not be a habitual killing of animals to constitute as a serial killer. But it's equally disturbing that some people still don't have a problem doing it out of vengeance. Those people would still probably murder someone in the heat of the moment.